All right, Dick Vermeil joins us typically Fridays at 8 o'clock, but he's with us right now. We always love the opportunity to have Coach Vermeil in the program. He's brought to us by Independence Blue Cross, the region's strongest network of doctors and hospitals, meaning you can choose where, when, and how you get the care you need. Learn more at IBX.com. The legendary coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Mr. Dick Vermeil. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Dick, quite a week for the Eagles. You just heard John and I talking about it. I mean, can you detail for a moment the complex, because Sirianni dealt with a lot this week, and I've been extremely impressed with how he's handled it. Can you detail when you're an NFL head coach and players are talking and the media's talking and everyone's talking and the nation has its eyes focused on you saying stuff's going wrong? What is that like as a head coach to deal with all that all at the same time?
You know, in my era, remember the last game I coached was January 1st, 2006, okay? There was a lot of media, but nothing like it is today. So we weren't confronted with the issues that they have as often as they're confronted with them today. I mean, it's every week there's something for any team or all teams, So, I just say that's how the media makes a living, and that's how coaches learn how to handle problems better and not add to the fire by saying the wrong thing to the media. There's just so many people evaluating the game today.
Sure.
Next gen stats. They got how fast the quarterback ran the long run the other day. My God. So I think the number of people evaluating it has created more of a problem than the game itself or the player themselves. Yeah.
So, Dick, this one's an interesting one, though, in large part because it was totally created by actual Eagles players. Like A.J. Brown spoke out, Brandon Graham spoke out. They didn't have to, they chose to. What would you have done as a head coach? An Eagles legend, BG, injured, out for the year, and one of the two or three best players in the Eagles, A.J. Brown. How would you have handled it if you were Sirianni?
First off, I hope I would have prevented it through my constant head coaches meetings. I always talked about never overload your rear end with your mouth, okay? And it's so much easier to do that today. So that's the first thing. You try to prevent it from happening. But I think sometimes today we tend to make a bigger deal out of it than we really should, both in coaching and players and in the media. I get mad at my wife at least 2 or 3 times a week, and she gets mad at me about 6 times a week, okay? So it's all right for a wide receiver to get upset. It's not surprising that Brown is first guy to get upset, He's a hungry receiver. And I think they've clarified many times the only reason he gets that way is because of his desire to make a contribution to winning. I don't think you can contribute it to his arrogance within his personality. And I could be wrong, but I think, like you said, Nick handled it really well. Plus, they have a lot of coaches on the staff that can help handle these kind of things and cool them down. But I've seen players get in fistfights on the practice field and then in the locker room hugging each other, okay?
Sure.
So the game is so intense today that sometimes we just have to learn to overlook those kind of situations. Now, if it's an arrogance problem, then the coach has got to handle it. But we've already stated a couple times that it isn't arrogance with A.J. Brown.
So your ability to control your emotions, Coach, you're famously emotional, and
right.
You have somehow been able to control those emotions to work for you. How can a coach teach a player to utilize his emotions better for good? AJ, sometimes it feels like the emotions get, out of control. How does a coach help a player get those reined in so they can be used for good, for productivity?
Communication, trust. You keep talking about it. If they trust you, they listen to you. And like I've said many times, there's no correlation between age and maturity. And there are 25 to 28-year-old players that need to continue to mature. Some of them never do, then they normally last that long in the league, okay? But a lot of players go through issues when they're young and being evaluated like they are, and they gradually mature to handle it better. Same with coaches. I used to God, I had players come off the field say, "Coach, will you please shut up? I'm tired of you yelling at me." Anyway, I just think, the A.J. Brown. Nobody knows him better than the coaching staff. No one knows him better than his quarterback. No one, City respects and admires our quarterback. He's proved he's a winner. Okay, A.J. Brown has been here a couple of years, and he's made our quarterback a better quarterback.
Sure.
So I think there'll never be a divorce. There might be some arguments.
Sure.
Dick, let's talk about the QB. I think AJ's initial point was he's just really frustrated with the quarterback not playing better. I'm very concerned about Jalen in the passing game, but I acknowledge he does a lot of other good stuff that helps the team win. How concerned are you with Jalen's passing? And by passing, I mean the reading of the defense, the getting the ball out quick, being on time, that stuff. How concerned are you?
Oh, I get concerned game time when I see it happening. When I'm a spectator. I don't know what he's been told to do, but I spent about 2 hours yesterday going through evaluating Jalen Hurts' career. This season alone, 7 of the 11 games he started, he's had a quarterback efficiency rating over 100. Okay, 3 times over 126. So wow. I would say on last Sunday, I would give more credit to Carolina. I've had the opportunity to start out coaching 3 losing teams. And the one thing I've recognized about losing teams, when you have a good coaching staff and good morale on the staff and keep them fired up, they get better as the season goes along, but they never get credit for being a good team. Carolina has improved a lot. The quarterback has improved tremendously. The defense has improved. The running back is one of the top running backs in the league. And what happens, you get a team like that with a losing record. They come in and play a winning team. The winning team's attitude is not what it ought to be because they think they're going to blow them out. And the losing team knows they're getting better, and they can't wait to prove it. They're more motivated. And I've had it. Now, I'm proud to say a couple of times my losing teams beat real good playoff teams toward the end of the season. Why? Because they got better. So I think in this case, sometimes we've got to give the defensive team, the opponent, more credit than we give them. And don't evaluate them through the whole season. Evaluate what they've done the last 3 or 4 games. Hey, they've played some good teams and played them well, including the Chiefs. So be careful of over-evaluating a winning team playing a losing team. But I think sometimes Jalen almost acts like he's not aware where everybody's going with the pass pattern. Sometimes that's due to a head coach or a passing game coach putting in 3 or 4 new things in the game plan that they really haven't run under game conditions. And all of a sudden it gets game conditions and you don't react as well because you haven't really seen it under fire. That's sometimes the reason. The other reason, sometimes the quarterback just misreads it, and doesn't really see what he ought to see. But there's no question he hangs onto the ball a little too long. I did a study yesterday, compared him with Tom Brady. Career-wise, Jalen's completion record right now in his career is 64.2. Tom Brady is 64.3. Okay, interception percentage, Jalen Hurts 2%. Tom Brady 1.8. Career rating, Jalen right now at 93. Tom Brady at 97.2. So he's got an edge. The big edge is his sack percentage. Okay, and he gets sacked 7.2% of the time in his career, where Brady was only 4.4. So, Brady, was in the same offense with the same, most of the time, the same head coach, the same coordinators, all those times. So you're naturally going to react and be more consistent. But I do think there are times he doesn't really see the field as quickly as he ought to see the field.
Fortunately, that can be something he can improve upon, right, Coach?
No question. But this, I found this out by coaching Kurt Warner. Some guys just see it. Period.
Sure, that's fascinating.
We get all kinds of credit for coaching a Hall of Fame quarterback out of the Arena League. Okay?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the very first game he started, he beat a very fine football team.
Yeah.
And threw the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
And his first 6 games of his career, no quarterback starting his first 6 games in his career have ever matched those stats. So he just did it naturally. And you've been around those kind of guys. Hey, I'm sure Montana was somewhere close.
Yeah.
And those, and Steve Young and those guys. But I don't know if our quarterback, Jalen Hurts, is in that category, and it may take him a little longer within the same scheme.
Sure.
To get the same understanding. Some people get it naturally.
Sure, that's fair. So, Coach, at the end of this last game in the fourth quarter, we neglected to go up 2 scores because the field goal was 54 yards, and we didn't have faith that Jake Elliott could make it from 54 yards. Do we have a kicker problem? Do we have a kicker confidence problem? What would you do in our situation?
Boy, that's tough. I don't know the kicker personally. I would probably stay with him. I was always accused of staying with a player too long, especially if he was a real good attitude guy. If he was a questionable attitude, I wouldn't stay with him. But I would stay with him and try to get him going again. As I read, and watching the game, they talked about the wind factors. I can remember in the old vet, we used to leave the end and the door open down at the end there sometimes because the wind could come through and move the ball around when you wanted it to move around.
All right.
So, and they did. The wind was an issue. Most head coaches go through a period of time with a fine kicker that all of a sudden he's not a fine kicker. Sometimes they come out of it. I think most of the time the caliber of a kicker he is, they come out of it. Hey, just look at the Ravens. My God.
Yeah.
They're going through with the Ravens, Normally, that caliber of kicker comes out of it, especially if he's handled properly by the head coach and the special teams coach. They come out of it.
Unbelievable. Dick Vermeil with us here, as always. Typically, though, on Friday, right now on Thursday. Dick, 2 final things. So, the 1 seed. The Eagles obviously could win in Detroit in the playoffs if they had to, but it's a lot harder. Can you put into words with 4 games to go? And, of course, you famously won one of the most important games the Eagles have ever played at home, and who knows what would have happened if you had to play that game in 1980 in Dallas. But how important, with the 4 games remaining, how important do you think it is for the Eagles' chances to get to the Super Bowl that they get that 1 seed?
I think it's critical. I think it's critical for all teams. I don't think any team that's gotten to the Super Bowl was so good they couldn't take advantages of the advantages, okay? And it's an advantage to play a playoff game at home, no question to me, and especially at our place. God, you can't go into a stadium that would be any more fired up or intense or motivated than our home fans playing Detroit here, okay, or whoever it is. I think we're good enough to go to Detroit and beat Detroit as long as Detroit doesn't play their best game.
Sure.
You just never know.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they could turn the ball over, and they haven't been turning the ball over. The quarterback threw 4 or 5 interceptions in one game and won, okay?
Yeah.
And since then he hasn't thrown interceptions. But it still might not end up being Detroit. They've got some tough games to play.
Sure do. That's right. And Dick,
but you're right. Right now, I think it's as a head coach, I would just hope to hell we could get that home field advantage.
Yeah, it's big. Dick, final thing, 2-part question. How good are the Pittsburgh Steelers, and what is your prediction for the Eagles and Steelers on Sunday?
The Pittsburgh Steelers are a good football team. They're always a good football team, as you know, over the years. What Tomlin has done, and it was done before him, it's in the organization, it's bred, it's almost like they get a vaccination, that they're going to play tough, hard-nosed football. And I think they preach it. A rookie, a first-round pick comes in there right off the bat. They know the atmosphere, what it is and what it's going to be, and it's always going to be. So they're always going to be tough. These 2 teams, as you really study them, are really a good matchup. They're really a good matchup. Statistically, the Eagles are slightly better. Okay,
good.
They don't. Pittsburgh doesn't throw interceptions really, and now we don't either. But I think our advantage right now in 2 quarterbacks, I got here 9 different quarterback stats, Russell Wilson is slightly better. But 2 critical ones where the Eagles and Jalen are better is in third down conversion. We're at 43.3, okay? And they are at 39. That's a big percentage. A red zone, we're at 59.6 scoring a touchdown. Pittsburgh's only 44. That's our edge, and we have to keep playing like that Sunday.
Good stuff. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for being a huge part of the program today. Let me remind everyone, if you live in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, you can now get delicious Vermeil wine shipped directly to your home. Visit VermeilWines.com. That website, VermeilWines.com, as we approach the holidays for Coach's entire wine selection. Coach Vermeil, have a wonderful week. We look forward to talking to you next weekend or next week.
Okay, the one last thing. My computer says the Eagles win by 7.
Eagles by 7. We'll
All
take
right.
it. Thank you, Dick.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, take care.
All right, the legendary coach of the Eagles, Dick Vermeil. 215-592-9494. Howard asking up ahead. Also, life advice with the Hammer. What do you need some help with in life? Facebook, Twitter, and the text line. 3 ways you can get to Seltzer to get to me. What advice do you need in life? What help do you need in life? I'll steer you in a direction. Howard, life advice, and phone calls up ahead on 94 WIP.